I've always loved that song. Good morning. My name is Elaine Cozart, and I'm your worship associate this morning. Most of what I know about Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, I learned in Unitarian Universalist services and a world religion class in college. Although I grew up in a Lutheran family, I never really understood what it meant to be a Christian. Sure, there were the 10 Commandments. I was often told Jesus was the Son of God and died for our sins, and that girls were supposed to be virgins until marriage. Those are the messages. But I didn't connect with that, and I couldn't muster the curiosity to question and to seek answers. As a kid, religion felt not only mysterious, but sometimes scary, because I didn't want to be seen as a sinner or as a bad person. And so I'm sure that that's why I just didn't ask a lot of questions. As I grew up, though, I was able to explore my faith and beliefs, and I've come to appreciate aspects of many religions. For example, most religions tell us to be good to one another and to be charitable, and I try to live by these ideals. Another aspect of religious practice is ceremonial meals, like the Jewish Seder dinner or the Eid al-Fitr feast celebrated by Muslims after Ramadan. They represent a level of tradition that I've never had, and I'm in awe of those who so faithfully plan, prepare, and carry them out. It was my husband, actually, who introduced me to a UU congregation in 1996 up in Washington. And that was truly the beginning of my religious education. How wonderful that I could learn about Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and many other religions all under one roof. It became easy to talk to others in the congregation about this now less mysterious topic and to learn even more. My newfound awareness made it more comfortable to then ask my friends about their traditions and beliefs. In each case, it's interesting to hear them talk about how their beliefs or their values about certain traditions have evolved or strengthened. One of my Jewish friends, for example, raised her sons very traditionally, regularly attending synagogue, celebrating all of the Jewish holidays and bat mitzvahs and bar mitzvahs, and traveling to Israel. While another one of my Jewish friends married a Catholic, and they raised their kids in the Unitarian Church, and they kind of had a hybrid of customs. One of my closest friends is a devout Catholic whose faith seems to have always been very deep and very steady. We've had really great conversations about our views. Thankfully, we have more in common, like a genuine love and appreciation for our families and friends. And, we share our love of the outdoors, and we've just had a lot of really great adventures together. During some really hard times, like losing parents and navigating the challenges of being a parent and getting past some of our own health issues, we've been right there to support each other. But there are certainly things that we vehemently disagree on, like abortion and LGBTQ rights, and the creation or evolution of humanity. But it's really great to be able to have these delicate conversations. We do it very respectfully, and it's brought us closer over these many years, and we don't see each other as an adversary. Those relationships have made me even more curious about other religions, and when I've had the opportunity, I do get curious with others, unlike when I was a kid. Like, I have a Muslim coworker, his name is Mo, and last year I had wished him a happy Eid al-Fitr, which was at the end of Ramadan last year. And I found that it was a really great way to get him to talk about his faith and customs in a very non-threatening way. And I could just feel his pride when he told me about how his 7-year-old son begged him to be able to fast during Ramadan. And also when he described the deep connections that he feels with his extended family during that feast. These conversations have been really incredible gifts that I hope to continue having. It took me years to learn how to engage in such a traditionally taboo subject, but I found them to be a wonderful way to come together with our differences.
In our readings today, I have 3 quotes. Billy Graham said, "The Christian life is not a constant high. I have my moments of deep discouragement. I have to go to God with tears in my eyes and say, 'Oh God, forgive me,' or 'help me.'" Yehuda Bauer writes, "Thou shalt not be a victim. Thou shalt not be a perpetrator. But above all, thou shalt not be a bystander." Allah does not wrong the people at all, but it is the people who are wronging themselves. Some of my courses in seminary have been a revelation to me, introducing me to ancient theologies and schools of thought unfamiliar to me and to the people who transformed the 3 major religions into what we see today. 4 years ago in my global religions class, I was surprised when we covered the 3 Abrahamic religions at how similar they are in their basic theologies. That's why this sermon is called One Trunk, 3 Branches. Because Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all evolved out of the same source, the religion practiced by the nomadic tribes that came out of the area of Israel and Judah. Practices may have varied between the 3, but at their core, their basic theologies match up. Abraham is considered to be the father of all 3 religions through his 2 descendants, Ishmael and Isaac. When Abraham's wife was not able to have a child, Abraham was given permission to sire a child with his slave woman Hagar. Now, I don't know who gave him permission, or what that sounded like, and frankly, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for that conversation. Hagar and Abraham's child Ishmael is related in an ancestral line to Muhammad. Abraham's wife Sarah was able to conceive late in life, and her son Isaac was the direct line to the Jewish and Christian religions. As you might imagine, Hagar's son was not welcomed by Sarah, so Abraham took Hagar and Ishmael to the desert valley in Becca in Arabia and left them there. As my textbook states, no one knows when Judaism started. It has no single founder and no central leader or group making theological decisions. It has a diverse tradition that can be defined as an ethnic group or as a religious one. The religion thousands of years ago centered around sacrifices made in their temples for supplication or in praise and thanksgiving. The religion continued in this way for several hundred years, with temples established in population centers. After the invasion of the Babylonians in 586 BCE, the Jews in Judah were kidnapped and taken to Babylon, where they lived for 51 years. With no temple in Babylon, the Jews became the people of the book, relying on the Torah to practice their religion. They returned to Jerusalem in 535 BCE and were surprised to find people living in their homes and on their land. It occurred to me that this issue with who owns the land and which religion can claim Jerusalem for their holy land is an issue that is as old as just under 3,000 years. Living by the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, the Ketuvim, and the books of the prophets became more important than the temple because the religion could be practiced anywhere. Christianity is based solely on the life and teachings of Jesus Christ. His death and resurrection are at the base of Christianity's theology of salvation and redemption, which was never taught by Jesus, but were expressed by Paul in his letters to the far-flung Christian communities in the Mediterranean. In fact, much of what we know as Christianity today was formed by Paul, Augustine, the Nicene Council, and Constantine. My professor stressed that in studying the life of Jesus, we needed to realize, first and foremost, Jesus did not come to start a new church, but to reform the existing one. He was viewed as a revolutionary and was sentenced to death by the Sanhedrin for pushing a theology that centered the relationship between humans and God as most important, thereby bypassing the Jewish hierarchy. Islam was established by Muhammad, who is considered by Muslims to be the last in a chain of prophets who have come to restore the true religion. The Quran revealed to Muhammad relates that Abraham and Ishmael together built the holiest sanctuary in Islam, the Kaaba. It was believed to be the original site of Adam's worship. God told Abraham that the Kaaba should be a place for pilgrimage, and Mecca has been regarded as a holy place by Arabian tribes. But why did these three religions flourish and prosper when others did not? As my Hebrew Bible professor stated, Christianity was to reform Judaism, and Islam was to reform Christianity. And these became a way of life with rituals that guided the daily life and outlook of the people practicing them, which carried over into their culture. But let's get to some of the similarities. All three faiths hold the Golden Rule, or the ethics of reciprocity, as central to their teachings. Rabbi Hillel stated that, "Do not do unto others what you do not want others to do unto you." Jesus said, "Do unto others as you would have them do to you." And Muhammad said, "None of you is a believer until he desires for his brother what he desires for himself." All three are monotheistic religions, meaning one God, which is the God of Abraham. But Christians believe in the Trinity, while others do not. The names can change. Jews call God Yahweh or Elohim. Christians call God Lord Yahweh or God. And Muslims call him Allah. The same holy books are used by all three religions: the Torah, the Nevi'im, which is the writings of the prophets, and the Ketuvim, which are the writings. Christianity uses all of these, but adds the Gospels. And Islam uses all the books the Christians do, but adds the Quran. To the Jews, Jesus was only a rabbi, and his resurrection and second coming are denied. The Christians, they say that Jesus is the Son of God and the Messiah, and his resurrection and second coming are confirmed. Muslims believe that Jesus is a prophet of God and the Messiah, and his resurrection is denied, but his second coming is confirmed. There are differences in how heaven and the afterlife are viewed, as well as the impulse of humans for good and evil. But I think the most striking is the worldview of one Abrahamic religion to the other two. Jews believe that Christianity and Islam are misinterpretations and extensions of Judaism. Christianity believes that Judaism is an authentic religion, but with an incomplete revelation, and that Islam is inauthentic. Muslims believe that Jews and Christians are people of the book, but with erroneous beliefs and an incomplete revelation. You can see where, although all three Abrahamic religions have similar roots, they have evolved into differing belief systems after hundreds of years. And if there are misunderstandings between these three groups, we can understand why there would be misunderstandings of those of us who do not live with these theologies. During the first Gulf War in the early 1990s, my church in Pasadena hosted a panel called Women in Islam as a way to foster understanding and to begin to establish a relationship with the mosque in our neighborhood. One of the questions to the panel was, why were women treated so differently in most Muslim countries? One of the panelists said that there is no written law about how women should be treated, but that the culture has been laid on top of the religion. In thinking about that, I realized that culture has been laid on top of the other two Abrahamic religions as well. If you travel to high areas of Jewish population like New York City or Jerusalem, you will see Orthodox and Reform Jews living side by side, along with those who are culturally Jewish but do not practice. What we are seeing in this country with Christianity emerging as a political force is a longing for the culture and the law to reform to what some evangelical practitioners believe is the way to salvation for themselves and this nation. While attendance at Christian and Catholic churches in Europe has declined in the last several years, and the local church is not as central to life as it used to be. There is a fear of what we do not know and understand. I have never been able to understand anti-Semitism, and my limited study of the Quran has not helped me find anything to fear here either. It is the way that people have used these religions to advance their own interests or to avenge old fights. When my seminary had convocation speakers on the rise of white nationalism over the last 2 years, we learned that the only way to foster conversation and understanding between these differing religious and cultural viewpoints was to be in a relationship with people who think and live differently than we do. My neighbor across the street from me is a longtime widow, and we have bonded over that. We get together every Tuesday and Friday night to visit over the last 2 years, and we have discovered that we have different political and cultural viewpoints. She's made remarks about trans people and racial differences that would have ruffled me with others. But I've thoughtfully told her that what she was stating was not my experience. And because of the relationship we've developed, she'll consider my point of view, and I will consider hers. It's led to a closer understanding of each other and how locked in we are to get to our own stance. The war in Gaza asks all of us to dig a little deeper. The monstrous genocide forces us to look at what has happened and why. The issue there is old and complicated, and there will always be those who will try to capitalize on the weak and defenseless to move their agendas along. The support of Palestine makes me hopeful that there can be a solution for both sides that may not be perfect, but will enable both sides to live side by side, not in the name of religion, but in the name of our common humanity. I leave you today with the words of Reverend Lucas Hergert, minister of our UU Church in Deerfield, Illinois. Those lines so compelling because in this revision, in the echo of the story of Abraham and Isaac, no one is lost, no one dies, not even a horned animal. It holds the promise of a new religion. It heralds a new way of being together, a way that does not harm, maim, or kill, a way that flashes up in a time of danger. Rather than picking which side will be flattened, I choose that hope where we find and unite rather than bomb or kill. We feel the past call to revengeance. We witness what's beyond the terrible cycle. We resist the cruel alternatives, the harsh choice of which side. We attend to the cries and hold the heart hollowed by grief and answer the desperate cry for help, help, help. We stand against the punishing wind, praying for the intervening hand, our hand. We seek a new religion, a new politics, devoid of violence, beyond sacrifice. Another way that flashes up at this moment of danger. Blessed be.